How you doing, YouTube? Matt Massa Beer Reviews, back with new brewery time, a form of Verboten Brewing. This is their double oaked rum, Grow Old With You, Barleywine style ale. This comes courtesy of my boy Tim. He sent off a big box of Colorado. This be in there. And this is one of two waxed bottles, and there's another can that was actually a barrel-aged beer. But he sent me off some barley wines, and this is one of them. I've been wanting to try some Verboten. I might have tried some already. I should actually probably looked it up before this review, but we're started already. But it had to be a smaller beer. But I have a Facebook friend that actually used to work there, so I've always been kind of curious about their beers. And this sounds like a banger. It says English-inspired barley wine, double oaked with bourbon barrels and rum staves. A complex malty beer with flavors of dark and stone fruits, rum, bourbon, oak, toffee, and brown sugar. Verboten Brewing is dedicated to an adventure that is craft beer. There's a beer out there for everyone. Cheers. I don't see a date on this. He wrote me a note. He said this beer in previous years, I think 2018, the, what was it? I have it written over here somewhere. The bourbon cognac version of this beer won gold at Fobab, Festival of Barrel-Aged Beers out in Chicago, I believe. Chicago. Yeah, it's kind of poopy they don't actually put a date on here. I could easily have looked. Oh, no, they did. Up top. 2019. So it's almost 2021 right now. So this probably is at least a year old. Very cool. So, yeah, there we go. We're going to dive into it. I have no idea the ABV on this. It's a double. It's a bourbon barrel and cognac. I'm sorry, not cognac. Rum. Barley wine. So it's probably what, like 3%, maybe 4, maybe 4. Let's pour it in there like we hate ourselves, because that's how you pour beer, like you hate yourself. Label-wise, it's cool. I like it. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's weird kind of barbed wire stuff that reminds me of living in the tattoo world. It's I like the label in a way that it's like, and I don't mean this badly, Verboten or whoever put this label together. It looks like someone's like, I'm gonna make a crazy label, but doesn't work in like a design world. Although the barcode is vertical. So I will give them kudos to that. But it's kind of all over the place in a way that I kind of like it. They had the fancy drip on the front of the bottle so to make sure it's presenting correctly. And they stamp them like it's a message from a medieval like serf to his assassin to kill John Stark or something like that. So I like it. So what does it look like? The beer itself. It looks like barley wine. I mean, what do you want me to say? It's rich mahogany. The head has this, what little head is there, has this kind of nice, soft, khaki caramel kind of color to it. I can't tell if it's kind of turbid. It's gotta be, because I can't get much light through there. So it's got this hazy turbidity to it. What I would call poo-poo water or doo-doo water, depending on my mood. And that all bodes well for a really nice barley wine. I have to get a nose on this now. So either my nostril hairs are going to be singed off, or I'm going to be very, very happy, or both at the same time. It can happen at the same time. Let's get a nose. It's kind of happening at the same time, but it's not equal. It's probably like happy. No, it's 100% happy. But it's, because I was going to go like a percentage, like, oh, it's probably like 75% happy and 25% nostrils burned off. It's 100% happy. And then on top of that, there's 50% nostrils burned off. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it smells how I want this beer to smell. And by that, I mean it smells how a 2019 version of this kind of beer I would want to smell. In the grand scheme of things, would be a little bit more sugar daddy, a little bit more Dayton figgy, it would be a little bit more richer, maybe even a dollop of soy sauce. You're not getting that in here. You're getting, it's a little bit hot. You're getting bourbon more than anything. I don't really get a ton of rum in there. No, I'm a liar. You get it in there, but in more in this kind of buttery way. I get rum comes off like a subtle buttery characteristic for me, and not in like a diacetyl kind of way. It's just like rum for me. If I drink rum, I get this kind of butter vibe. I don't know. But it's barley wine through and through, but it has this richness. It's erring towards that sugar daddy. It has those Dayton figs, that caramel in spades. That bourbon shows up nice. You get a little bit of soft kind of vanilla, maybe coconut off of that wood, and the rum shows. So the cool part about this beer so far, without actually diving into the taste of it, is that all the components are there on the nose in a very cool way, because more often than not, or I shouldn't say more often than not, a lot of times, because I don't want to seem like breweries just suck all the time, a lot of times breweries will do these beers and just one thing will just be out of balance. Whether it be the beer being too big, the spirit being too hot, the barrel being out of control. That's not the case here. All the components are showing up, at least in the nose. I'm a fan so far. Let's dive in. Cheers. This beer is going to be so good in a year. It's good. It's really good right now. But there's this alcohol. We'll talk about this beer a little bit more. But the major thing that really pops out to me is this aggressiveness in the alcohol. Not in necessarily a hot way. Because it's not like you can get a burning in the back of my throat. It's a little bit kind of acetone-y. A little bit maybe isopropyl-y. And that would burn off. That would maybe even cant this. I might be fine. But I think that'll dissipate with a year or so and really release a lot more of the beer. There is a metallic component to this beer. That's why I kind of hesitated in that second part when I first started talking about the taste. There is a metallic component to this. I'm curious if it shows up in the second sip. It doesn't ruin the beer, but it's there. It's a little tinny. I don't think that's going to go away. But I think some of these flavors can meld together a little bit better over time and kind of push that tinniness down to where it's not as perceptional. Anyway, about the beer where it sits right now. It's really delicious. I mean, honestly, it is exactly where I like my barley wines to go. It is the J.W. Lee's old stock Thomas Hardy kind of thinking here, that you're getting this kind of rich, kind of sugary, brown sugary caramel beer that over time, through barrel aging and time in a bottle, kind of starts to morph into that date figgy thing that eventually morphs into a molasses, into a sugar daddy thing. And it's well on its way to becoming sugar daddy. So there's a little bit of spiciness, a little bit of blackstrap molasses to it. But you do get that sweet sugar daddy component to it too. So it's getting there. Now the bourbon's absolutely there. And it still has a little bit of heat to it. But like I said, it's not over the top, but you know it's there. That'll dissipate over time. Another reason why I said about a year or so this is probably going to be cash money. There's a really nice vanilla component to this, man. Vanilla and subtle coconut that has me all kinds of happy. I'm almost positive that's all barrel at play here. Maybe even a little bit of those rum staves. And the rum is definitely, like, for me, like a third or fourth player. Outside, and this could be just me, outside of a perceptual mouthfeel thing. And when I talked about the nose on this, I talked about rum coming off as more of a buttery thing. And while I don't think, in the grand scheme of things, I'm talking about actual nose or taste, I'm talking about texture. I know that sounds kind of weird, but for me, rum, more specifically Caribbean rum, has a subtle butter kind of taste to it. Subtle. But the mouthfeel, to me, comes off as liquefied butter. It has this density that, for some reason, not that I'm drinking cups of butter, I don't do that, but it has this kind of butter thing to me, this liquefied butter texture. I don't know why I clom onto that when it comes to rum, but I do. And this kind of has that going for it, not necessarily in the texture of the beer itself, but the way the rum presents itself to me. And this is probably super exclusive to this guy, so if I've lost you, I've lost you completely. But the rum is there in the taste. It's behind the bourbon, but there's just this mouthfeel thing that I associate with rum. It's probably some wild kookamani shit. I'm just spouting craziness, but I love this beer. I love it because it has everything in it that I enjoy in a barley wine, but it also has everything I enjoy in a barley wine in about a year. Again, I'm not going to sit here and hark on age being the cure-all for all things, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that multiple component-based beers are the best beers to age. I'm not going to tell you to take a bourbon barrel-aged, rum-staved barley wine and age that for the long haul. But if you give me this in 2022, I think it's a better beer. I really do. And that's not a knock on Verboten. I think that's a testament that they can make this level of deliciousness exist in a couple of years, because time is very, very brutal. both to me, because I'm getting old and things get harder. I mean, just finding a courage to drink this beer is a lot. But it's also, you can't really fake it when it comes to spirits or beer. Age is king. You figure out a way to make a 10-year-old scotch taste like a 6-year-old scotch, and you're going to be a motherfucking billionaire. Same thing goes for beer. But barrel aging and proper barrel aging and blending and knowing what you're doing with those beers is probably the quickest way to get to that point. Because what this beer tastes like to me, stripping back the obvious bourbon notes and obvious kind of rum characteristics in it, is a 5 to 8 year old, old stock Thomas Hardy, and that's some of my favorite beer on earth. Now, if you sit this next to a 5 to 8 year old stock Thomas Hardy, it's not going to be the same beer, because it does have those bourbon characteristics. It does have those rum characteristics. It does have those things going on for it. But there's some kind of Venn diagram or some kind of axis point where they both get close to each other. And that's where you can accelerate some of these flavors that turn into something great. But it's also almost like internally, I view this beer as 2019. If they bottled this in 2019, this is actually probably more a 2016 to 17 beer. So let's say this beer was brewed in 2016. They barrel aged it for over a year, because I think it has to be. And they bottle it in 2019. Or 17, sorry. So 17, it went through 18 and bottled early 19. And I get it now. It is a 3.5, 4 year old beer at this point. So maybe I'm just kind of championing barrel aging a little bit too much, but no, I don't think I am. It's a fun beer. It's a great beer. Just want it a year or two from now. So Verboten, when you see this, put my name on a list. Don't send me anything. Well, you can send me whatever you want, but don't send me anything. Just earmark one of these. For about 2 years, send it to me, please. Because I'd love to do this in 2 years and just do like a follow-up or review and see how this thing kind of age. Because I think it really is going to be one of those beers where if this is available still and it's kind of a shelfy beer, and I don't think it is, but let's say it is, gems, all the gems. Or if you can get this still and you're willing to wait a year and a half, 2 years, that's where this beer is. So let's talk about it. We'll cut to the chase. It's always already way too long. This is one of the better barley wines I've had as of late. Yes, it's a Mount Rushmore status. It wants to be there so bad, but I think there's a couple to just keep it out, because I've had some really good barley wines as of late. And it's not so much that this beer doesn't deserve it. It's just those other ones have done just a little bit better for me. That shouldn't hold you back from getting this beer and waiting about a year or two. Value and availability, no idea. I'm going to venture a guess here. And everybody out there in the Colorado realm, your Tims and everybody else in the world, let me know what's what when it comes to price. I want this to be $8. I think this is $12. If it's less, it's 8 or less all day. If it's 12, it sucks, but it's just kind of the way the world rolls. And leave you with, if you like what, will you like this beer? If you like old beer, aging beer, barley wine, bourbon barrel aged beer, barley wine. If you like rum barrel aged beer, barley wine. If you like old aged big huge beer and barley wine, you will like this beer. So there you go. Another review in the books. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Down there if you want to talk about it. Massive Beers. If you want to check me out doing the social media stuff, Beer Massive. If you want to check me out doing the whole podcasting thing. And hopefully you guys enjoyed our review. Hopefully you're enjoying a little Verboten right now. Hopefully see you next time. Cheers.